sir? It's Sebastian
Oh,
Cuesta.
it's going really well.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, listen, I'm so sorry I wasn't available at 6, man. All of a sudden a call came in from California, and I'm like, oh, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, no, I completely understand. You're probably very busy.
No, not a problem.
Yeah, well, the reason I was calling is actually I had a marketing project that I had to interview somebody from Apple, and conveniently Hunter told me that you work for them, so I came up with a few questions, and I was wondering if you would answer them for me.
I'd be glad to.
All right, I appreciate it for your time, sir. So the first question would be, what is your job exactly in Apple?
Okay, there's actually two sides of Apple, two different ways that we do business, and we sell our merchandise.
Okay.
One of them is obviously the part that you're familiar with, which is the Apple Store. That we consider that retail, and that is where people go into an Apple Store and purchase, things at a personal level. Apple has a business division, though. I'm having a hard time hearing you. I'm hearing something in the background. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm coming outside. Sorry, my roommate.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Yeah, give me a second.
I just want to make sure I could hear you. That's all right.
Yeah. I completely understand the food business side that we're talking about, the Apple. There's the retail side.
Yeah. So that's perfect. Yeah, that's the retail side. But there's a huge amount of revenue that comes into Apple that's even bigger than the stores, and that's where big businesses buy our devices and they give them employees to use in their jobs. Now, my responsibility is marketing to big business, and I'm just iPhone and iPad. There's also divisions that sell like laptops into, businesses and schools and things like that.
Yeah.
My job does not involve Mac. I'm strictly iPhone and iPad because those are the two most popular devices used in business. And what happened was, and you might want to put this in your report if you want to, we have kind of a saying here at Apple that these are personal devices that accidentally found their way into business. And we say it that way because of this. Back when iPad first came out, back even when iPhone first came out, we intended those to be for people like you to use, in your life, to contact people, to keep information, to be creative, with iPad once that came out. But what ended up happening was there were people, like say a grown business guy, or maybe let's use the example of a landscaper. So say I had a landscaping company, but my wife had bought me an iPad for Christmas. Well, what was happening was all these individuals who were using it in their business were then coming to the Apple Store 5 and 6 years ago and saying, you know what, I have enough money in my company, and this is such a great tool because I use it in my home, and I've come to love it. I want to give these to my employees, right? So say that landscaping company had like 25 employees. What was happening was all of a sudden you'd have the owner of the company coming into the only place where he knew he could get those things, and that was the Apple Store, which was a great problem to have. But if you can imagine, it didn't take long before we had a few business customers where we had no inventory in the store, because you'd have a man walking into the store or a lady walking into the store and saying, yeah, hey, I want to use these in my company, so I'd like 30 iPads. Well, that's a good problem to have. At Apple, we're like, oh, that's great. But the problem is, imagine 2 or 3 people coming into a store like that during the day. Well, it's not long. By the lunchtime, we'd have no stock. And the other thing is, businesses also have special requests and ways to configure those things that you or I would never ask for at the store. Here's an example. We sell those to like elementary schools, right? Say an elementary school came to us and they said, we would like to have 65 iPads because we're going to give them to all of our teachers. But what they'd say to us was, but here's what we need you to do. We need you to deactivate the camera because we really don't want them laying around the school and having inappropriate pictures taken. And also, could you make it so that it can't go to Facebook and make it so that it blocks Twitter? These are all special requests that the company needs because of the way they want to do business. But that's a request you and I would never have.
Yeah.
So that's why Apple started this business division. And I'm in the part of Apple that has nothing to do with retail. I am marketing, and my customers are big businesses, and I convince them and show them ways that they can change their business by using iPhone and iPad. But it's like in hundreds, you know.
Wow.
Here's an example for you. United Airlines. Airlines came to us and said, hey, you know what? We used to use flight manuals. You know, it's just a big old 3-ring binder that's sitting on the dashboard of a plane, and that's how they would set their coordinates and fly a jet. But what happened was iPad is such a great device, and there's so many flight manuals and things like that they have app companies, right? So United Airlines said, you know what, we're not going to keep these stupid 3-ring binders anymore. That's pretty archaic. But what we do need is we need an iPad for every one of our planes. Well, they have 4,900 planes in America.
Oh, my God.
Does.
Yeah.
And here's another example for you. Lowe's, the home improvement center, you know, like Home Depot, but there's also Lowe's. Do they have that where you live, Lowe's?
Yeah, they have Lowe's.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's an example with Lowe's. Lowe's came to us about 2 years ago, and they had said, you know what, we think it would be great for our employees all to have an iPad mini in the pocket of their apron, because we can use that as a communication device, like when a manager needs to talk to somebody and they're all the way on the other side of Lowe's.
Yeah.
We also have an app company that's writing an inventory app so that when a customer comes in, if the employee doesn't know where to find something, all they have to do is dial it up on the iPad, and the iPad will tell them, oh, that's an aisle 9, right?
Oh, wow.
And they said, we're going to use it for just all kinds of business things, right?
For example, like Lynn University, for example, sorry to interrupt.
Exactly.
But they basically also needed to have this mobile app that links everything to iTunes U and the whole core that we have for classes.
Exactly.
That's really cool. I had no idea that it's kind of like you're middlemaning between the businesses and the wholesalers between Apple, right?
Exactly. And here's an example for you, just so, again, to reinforce the volume of these devices that move through the company that you never see because it's the Apple Store. You know, you're in the Apple Store. I'm in the Hunters in the Apple Store. You have no idea what goes on behind the scenes business-wise. But that's where, back to my example about Lowe's, when Lowe's had said, yeah, you know what, then we are going to do that. So we said, well, how many of those do you need? And they said, well, we need them for every one of our stores in America and also in Puerto Rico. So we said, how many employees is that you would like? And they said, we would like 16,000 iPads if you could give us this. So see what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
That's one customer.
Yeah.
So Apple thrives and makes money not just on what's going on in the store, but on the part that you people never see. It's just hundreds and thousands of devices, thousands and thousands, and that's the division I'm in. And I am called Carrier. If you need to write down my title for your project, mine is U.S. Carrier Marketing Exec is my job, executive. U.S. Carrier Marketing Executive, in case they ask. And what I do is there are about 50 people who actually, they all work for Apple, and they call on Fortune 100 companies. There's another version of me. That person helps people that call on smaller companies, but I support the guys who call into Fortune 100.
Oh, of course. That's where the money is.
Yeah, sure. And that's where the volume is. You get companies like, Deloitte and all these others that have thousands and thousands of devices. So what happens is my salespeople that I support, these 50 men and women who call on these companies, right, they need to educate the employees and also the person who purchased those at the company so that they use them for everything that they can, right? Because our goal is to make them fall in love with the product so that 3 years from now, when we come out with a new one, they just transition right over to us. And see, we're not the only ones out there trying to get into business. Samsung is our biggest competition, and they compete with us because of the Galaxy and the Note and tablets like that. Well, they've got the same kind of sales force and marketing that we do. They have the Samsung stores, in Best Buy, wherever you can buy those devices, but they have a business division too. So this isn't unique just to Apple. However, because Apple products are number one in the world, phone and iPad.
They're user-friendly.
Yeah, well, Samsung, they are out there. I mean, it's a shame because, their devices do work. They do. They make a good product, but it doesn't synchronize. It doesn't synchronize as well with so many other business applications that people need. And Android's really limited that way, as a platform. So I think that's why they never really have, gotten a big share of the business market. That's what you want to do. As you tell this story, you want to put it into two buckets and tell people to put the retail part out of their mind. Say what you're talking to them about has nothing to do with the Apple Store.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it.
Because obviously it would be impossible for the purchasing manager of even United Airlines. They can't go in the store and be like, I need 4,500 iPads.
Yeah, they would empty the stock out,
Yeah. So anyway, that's the description of what I do. Now, you asked me your questions. I hope that wasn't too wordy, but I needed to paint a picture for you of the two worlds that go on there.
Not at all.
So ask me your questions. What do you need to know?
Well, basically, I just wanted to ask you what you think the supply chain for Apple, if you like it, or you think it's not at its full potential yet, or do you think it's reached its full potential?
No, I mean, there's always room for growth, but one of the things we pride ourselves on is when we introduce a new product, the last thing that we ever want to do is stock out of it. So can you imagine when we make a new announcement that there's an iPhone 7, right, or whatever's coming up?
Yeah,
that would be a bad customer experience to launch that, to have people all excited, right? And this is at the business level because obviously the retail people are all sleeping outside. Which is really a wonderful compliment. But businesses they're waiting too, and they're telling their employees, oh, you know what? When that phone comes out, we're going to get them all, right? Well, if we run out of stock, that's somebody that could turn around and say, hey, you know what? Let's just go to Galaxy because we need these tools now. So Apple makes sure that 100% of their focus is on supply chain, so that our goal is to not run out of stock. Okay. That's our goal. And we have all kinds of streamlined ways at the global level to make sure that before we announce the availability of that product, we already have calculated approximately how many of those are going to be sold. Okay. And we don't release the product until we have that in every warehouse, in every store in the world. And then we tell the world, hey, guess what? This is coming out. You can pre-order it, and it's available on November the 10th. Well, we pick the date of November the 10th, that's fictitious. I'm just making that up. But I'm just saying we pick a certain date knowing full well that we have as much stock as we can because people will be requesting these things, especially at the business level, in the hundreds, So if you think those people that are sleeping out on the sidewalk hoping they get one new iPhone is interesting. It's amazing because you got big businesses that are saying, hey, you know what? I can't wait for that to come out, Apple. I'm going to need 2,000. It's like, okay.
Ooh, yeah, you need to make sure you have the right inventory.
Yeah, so supply chain is critical for us.
Yeah, I've done some research on the side, and I always see that you always make sure to have enough inventory before you launch a new product out there, so you can supply the demand. Well, I have a few questions. They're more on the personal level. It's just basically asking about the work environment. Sure. I was kind of curious. What is the environment in Apple like while you're working?
Well, here's what's different about my job. Apple's located in California, right?
Yeah.
I live in Philadelphia. The people on the business side of Apple, I do go to California on a regular basis for live meetings, and I go to the headquarters. But my job, actually, I work remotely. I have a home office, and I'm also with the customers all the time. So I go out to California when there's big meetings and things I need to be at. So I can answer that two ways. I have a lot of flexibility because people at the corporate level on the marketing side work remotely. So you can write that down and let them know that, we do a lot of telemeetings. We use FaceTime constantly, because there's really no need for us to fly all around and constantly be back and forth in California. Mm-hmm. However, here's a story, though, about the headquarters itself, because I am there, too. And it is seriously one of the most unique environments that I think you'd find, especially in the United States. The dress code is so casual, and by casual, I'm talking like cargo shorts, flip-flops. And here's Apple's philosophy. It's, you know what, the more comfortable you are, the more creative you are. It's like, why should you be all stuffed into a tie and sitting at a desk and hoping that your tie's straight, and I wonder if my shirt's tucked in, and, you know, I scuffed one of my good shoes. They're like, no, you know what, put all that out of your head. Use your head to fill it with creativity and be comfortable. We want you to be comfortable. So that's such a relaxing environment. Yeah. They're also very, very committed to sustainability. You can use that word, sustainability. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that we basically have put so much energy and effort into natural energy. You wouldn't believe like how much of that place is run on solar. And then if you get a chance, and this will be really impressive, do you have any visuals that you need to put up for your project, like a slide or two?
Yeah, I was thinking about putting up some images.
Well, this will really catch people's attention. If you go on your computer and just type in, just Google and go Apple HQ, right, for the headquarters. The reason for sharing that is for 5 years, we've been building a brand new headquarters in California, which is right up the road from the other headquarters. And I'll take a step back. Here's an interesting fact, too. The name of the town where Apple is, and sometimes you'll always see it on your phone and your iPad. You ever see where it tells you the time in Hong Kong and Japan and Europe, but it also will say what the time is in Cupertino? You ever see that word?
Yeah,
Cupertino. On your...
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of a funny story. That's kind of a fun joke more than anything else, because of the fact that Apple was started in Steve Jobs' parents' garage, and he was in this tiny little town called Cupertino. It's near San Jose. It's an adorable, very quaint little town. But Steve Jobs, when the company got successful, he made a commitment and said, you know what? No matter what happens to this company, my American headquarters will always be in the town where I grew up, because this is where my memories are. So Cupertino is this beautiful little town that's very, very small. And as a joke, he put that in the phone and in every one of our devices, so that he's saying, you know what, Cupertino is just as important as Europe, Japan, and anywhere else in the world to him. So when it defaults and tells you, what's the time? Oh, wow. Oh, look at this. Okay, do you want a Hong Kong? What's the weather doing? It will always tell you what's going on in Cupertino, which is this tiny little town. So anyway, our headquarters right now is made up of 4 different buildings that are all kind of on a cul-de-sac. They're really nice. All kind of crystal and glass. But we're moving out of those buildings next year. And if you go and Google Apple HQ and go to images, you'll see the new building. I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you ever seen what's going on with Apple on television?
Yeah, I've seen a few
images. It's that giant circle. Have you seen it? It looks like a spaceship. Well, that's going to be done next year. It's going to be done in 6 months.
Oh, wow. That was fast.
It will hold 10,000 people. Every one of the parking spaces is underground. When you pull up the image of it on your computer, you're going to see that it's just 4 stories of glass. It is completely 1 mile in circumference.
Oh, my God.
The building literally looks like a spaceship. And it's, I'm not sure if it's 5 or 6 stories high, but completely surrounded in glass, but the whole roof of it is all solar. It will be 100% like run on natural energy.
Wow.
And there's no other building like it, not just in America, in the world. So please do yourself a favor, Google that, and let people know that, take an image of that, because it's going to be such an impressive slide where people will be like, holy crap, are you kidding me? Like when you see this building, it's bizarre. It is bizarre. Now, those are all artist renditions, but that's exactly what it's going to look like. It's huge.
It looks like the future.
Tremendous.
It's like a spaceship.
Yeah, but it's crazy. But the environment there is just, it's the nicest place I ever worked, and I'm not just saying that. I came from the pharmaceutical industry, just kind of uptight and stiff, and it was great. I love the pharmaceutical industry, but the concepts, the way that people treat each other, just the general atmosphere is it's just so relaxing, so that it just frees you to be creative.
And you know what? I always thought it was going to be like that because
it's exactly like that.
Yeah, it's good for innovation, and the workers always seem happy, and the customer service is so great. And so,
it's really cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. What else?
That's pretty much all I got for you right now. But
all right. Well, listen, if other questions come to you, you can call me anytime. You got my phone number?
Yeah.
And